Well, hello, everyone. And in these series of videos, we're talking about marketing, shareholder value, and what makes a good company. We can't talk about marketing without at some point talking about branding. Malcolm has got a rich experience in the branding arena. He's actually has been involved with a great company called Brand Finance, which actually does brand valuations. Many of his books cover this subject. So it'll be really good, Malcolm, just to get your thoughts on this. And as ever, I've got a very simple being short, a very short question for you, which is what makes, in your experience, what makes a good brand?
Perhaps all the questions you've asked, this is maybe the easiest, for the simple reason that there is so much manifestation of excellent branding around us in our everyday lives that you don't need a degree in marketing to begin to understand what makes a successful brand. What I will do is just draw your attention to, sadly he's not with us anymore, he died a few years ago, but a guy called Laurie Young, and he wrote this this article in Market Leader in Q2 2011, and it was called "Products Die, but Brands Live Forever." And there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of brands, and it's most extraordinary when you look at some of the brands and how old they are. For example, Stella Artois was around in 1336, would you believe? And even something like Coca-Cola is 150 years old, and I think it's still successful. And you get Gillette, about 120 years old, and so on and so forth. But I'll tell you what the components, in my view, are of a successful brand. But I think you have to try and nail the jelly to the wall, if you'll excuse the expression, in terms of what we think a brand is. The simplest manifestation of a brand is, of course, the logo. And the world is awash with logos, and most of them are as useful as a bird of prey with a squint. And it amazes me, nobody gives a toss about your logo. I reckon there are probably 15 or 20 logos in the world that any normal human being would actually recognize. I'm not saying logos aren't important, for signage and things like that. But I was highly amused when I see chief executives coming in, and the first thing a new chief executive tends to do is to start messing about with the logo. Costs a fortune, and nobody gives a damn about the thing anyway. So it's not a logo unless that logo, like the famous brands, unless that logo creates shareholder value. The second level of a brand is that sort of larger bundle of associated intellectual property rights, like, for example, Guinness, their recipe, and Mercedes, their engineering processes. That's the second very important element of branding. But the third one, which is really what most branding is about the holistic company or organizational brand. And what's interesting, and not a lot of people realize this, but if you look at balance sheets today, in the United Kingdom, about 65% of all corporate value is not in tangible assets, it's in intangible assets. And in America, it's about 73% of all corporate value is in intangible assets. And it's those intangible assets that make money for an organization, not offices and lorries and factories. I mean, for example, when Nestle bought Rowntree's, the last thing they wanted was a factory in York. What they wanted was the brands and all those wonderful things that come with it. And you've heard me quote this before, but I'll quote it again. Procter & Gamble paid £31 billion to buy Gillette. And Ed, they got £4 billion worth of tangible assets. Now, Procter & Gamble aren't stupid. Now that throws some light on the importance of intangible assets and brands, because everything a company does, if you think about it, manifests itself, well, everything a company does from R&D through to after sales service, it manifests itself in the offer that you make to the customer. And that offer has a name on it, which of course is the brand. And, you know, if you look at a company like, shall we say, Shell, it's quite interesting that their customers pay more, their suppliers give them better terms, their employees get the better retention, their shareholders get better profits, and so on and so forth. So what is a successful brand? I'll just draw it to a close now. And I've just made a short list here. I mean, first of all, successful brands build trust. We do trust them. Been around, many brands, as I've already said, have been around for years and years and years. They have a price quality trade-off. They offer consistently superior value. They make the brand famous, easy to recognize, and that brings in advertising and all that kind of stuff. They also make it easy to buy, which of course is distribution, logistics, and what have you. In other words, they get the basics right. And there's more to it than that, obviously. But that's where I'm going to draw this to a close and say, you know, most of the brands that have been around for years and years and years, we trust them, we love them, and we pay good money to buy them. So long live powerful brands. And thank you for asking me this question about brands, because I'm quite passionate about brands, Ed.
That's very good of you, Malcolm. And actually, as you're making your closing comments there, Malcolm, I was thinking the same thing about the Malcolm Mcdonald brand. It's trusted, people love it, yeah, and they're prepared to pay good money for it as well. So thank you very much for your time with us today. Again, you know, I'm sure there's some really good nuggets there that people will find really helpful in their own businesses. So thank you again, Malcolm. It's been truly wonderful having you on with me talking about this. We end up having a lot of these conversations, you know, in cars and trains and planes, but actually it's really good. It is really good to schedule some time and actually focus on it and have a proper conversation. That's really good. And thank you, Malcolm. And you enjoy the rest of the sunshine that we're having here in the UK at the moment.
My pleasure, Ed.